be seated. So when Father Ben called me to talk about the preaching rota for Lent and into the summer, he said, and then Trinity Sunday. Preaching Trinity Sunday is a seminarian's rite of passage, so I feel like you should get the full seminary experience. Gee. Thanks, Ben. How very kind of you. So with that in mind, I thought we'd go full-out seminarian and talk theology. And if it's a total flop, we'll just thank our beloved rector. We all know the meaning of anything that ends in ology, the study of X, right? Defining theology, however, is not quite that easy. It's much more than just the study of God. Theology is actually part of Christ's answer when he's asked what the greatest commandment is earlier in the Gospel of Matthew. He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind." That's right. And as Christians, loving God with all of our hearts and souls is what we spend quite a bit of time on in church. Theology is where we work on loving God with all our minds. My parish priest growing up would always define theology by quoting St. Anselm of Canterbury, and that definition has always resonated with me. Anselm described theology as faith-seeking understanding. The faith we have in the triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, comes from our heart, even when we don't have the factual, tangible proof that makes our belief in them indisputable. However, we believe in them anyway because of our faith. Theology is the seeking understanding part, where we do four things to try and understand it all more and more. We think. We think about everything. Nothing in theology is certain or universal or perfect. We look at things in new ways and continue to explore deeper. We do this knowing that what we are exploring is far bigger than we are. We will never truly, fully comprehend it, but the more that we can understand, the richer our experience of God becomes. We trust. We trust in God as revealed to us through Christ. We learn from Rowan Williams that trust is actually a more accurate word than believe to capture the intention of the creeds that we say during the Eucharist and the daily office. We also trust each other as members of the community of Christ, the Christian community. And we ask, we question what we believe as we continue to explore it more deeply. We look for ways to explain it to ourselves and to others. And we do this because theology is a dialogue, not a mandate or a decree that must be followed. There's a reason that the outline of faith we find in the Book of Common Prayer is written in a question and answer format. We do. This is where we put what we learn from both our faith and our understanding into practice in the world. Through this action, we build communities of God's love. The doctrine of the Trinity is something that we often wrestle with as we do theology, just as those who came before us did, and those who will come after us will. This doctrine tells us that God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are distinctly unique, but also one. It's not hard to see why a concept such as this is exactly what it means and has been, and why a concept such as this, and exactly what it means, has been a challenge to centuries of learned theologians throughout the years, much less the rest of Christianity. for thousands of years. So we find ways to try and explain it, to illustrate it. One I've heard that once upon a time that I particularly like is water, ice, and vapor. We all learned in elementary school science that water, ice, and vapor are all the same thing on a molecular level, but they differ in their state of being, their form of matter, liquid, solid, and gas. Okay, or an actor who plays different roles in the same movie. Like the recent Deadpool movie, Ryan Reynolds plays many different versions of Deadpool in the various multiverses. Or Eddie Murphy in the Nutty Professor movies, playing Professor Clump, Buddy Love, Cletus, or lots of different characters. All of those characters are still Eddie Murphy. The problem is that if I freeze half of this water, it stops being water and starts being ice. And when Eddie Murphy changes costumes, he stops being Buddy Love and starts being Cletus. So that's modalism, the idea of one God in three different roles. It would mean that when the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, God simply switched costumes to become human. Okay, so maybe not water, ice, and vapor. I do like the illustration of the tree. The Father is the hidden root system under the ground that anchors the tree. The Son is the trunk of the tree that stems from that root system. And the Holy Spirit is the leaves and the fruit on the branches. That works because the entire tree is all part of the same biological life. That works except that the trunk and the fruit are completely dependent on the roots. Plus, the roots and the fruit are separated by the trunk. So the tree illustration makes the relationship more subordinate in nature and implies that God the Father holds this position of power over the others. We don't really go for the whole subordination version of the Trinity. I think the most recent one that I've seen that I like is the Kool-Aid Man. God the Father is the glass pitcher. The Son's the red liquid. The Holy Spirit's the flavor. Now that one works. The pitcher gives it structure. The liquid is what you interact with. And the flavor is what gives it power. And only when all three are present can the Kool-Aid Man come bursting through the wall. Oh yeah! Oh, no, that one's not really going to work either. Part of the whole thing about the Trinity is that each person is 100% fully God. And the red liquid is not exactly going to break down the wall by itself, any more than just one of the robot lions is Voltron. So partialism is kind of a fun one, but it doesn't really work either. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because I think the bishop has a 3 heresy per sermon limit on his deacons.
I've already drafted the text message.
Put your phone away, Ben. All of these analogies do illustrate in some way a concept of 3 persons of the same essence. And you look at each one and you say, I mean, yeah, in a way, kind of, but I mean, well, it's more complicated than that. Difficult though it may be, the Trinity shows us that God is, at the very core, a relationship of perfect love. This means that we don't worship a distant, isolated monarch. We worship a God who is community. Because we are made in the image of this triune God, we are hardwired for community and relationship with one another. when we seek to understand the Trinity, even though we are all seeking to understand the same thing, what we discover is formed by our individual lived experiences, from the places we grew up to the people surrounding us in our lives. In Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis illustrates that using the ocean. When we look at the ocean, what we see, what we understand about it, and what it means to us is dependent on how we're looking at it. Standing on the beach is a very different view than looking at it on a map or from a helicopter. Even standing on a beach on the east coast of Florida is going to be very different than standing on a beach in Greenland. But the Trinity is a mystery. It's contextual. It's personal. The more we seek to understand that mystery and its place in our lives, the more it shapes how we love, worship, and follow, and live the love of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer in the world. So when we do theology, we are engaging in our relationship with the triune God and learning what it means to live fully into that relationship. Many times, theology leads us to just as many questions as it does answers. And despite what we may have heard, it is okay to answer a question with a question. Theology is not a formula or an equation. It's not a piece we are painting or a play we're writing. It will never be finished. We are humans trying to wrap our mind around something that is truly divine. To characterize the beauty and frustration of theology, Archbishop Desmond Tutu says, "Theology is a human activity possessing the limitations and particularities of those who are theologizing. And theology is not eternal, nor can it ever hope to be perfect. There is no final theology. So we must keep thinking, keep trusting, keep acting, asking, keep doing, so that we love God with our minds together."